as our very first guest in this new segment, Andrea Dillon, who is an artist slash acrobat slash athlete, but she can talk to us about that. Andrea, come and join us in the bubble.
Hi, Mark.
Go. Directly from Montana today, I think.
That's right, for the week.
There you go. That's nice. How about we start about defining exactly what type of acrobat, artist, athlete you are? How do you define that?
I am an aerialist. I specialize in aerial silks, and most recently was with Circus at Sea on the Meraviglia ship of the MSC fleet.
Yep.
Our shows went dark in mid-March, but we spent about 5 months on board performing Honnored and Viaggio.
Okay. And then how about if we go, what is your acrobatic pathway? Have you started as a gymnast, or what was it when you started?
My background's actually in theater primarily, and dance, modern dance and West African dance. So I was a theater kid growing up, got into dance in high school and college, and then from there pivoted into circus.
Wow. So straight to circus afterwards.
Straight to circus, pretty much, yeah.
What would be your specialty?
Aerial silks.
Okay. Direct on specifically on silk. So tissues.
Tissue, but I'm also training sear wheel and straps.
There you go. Very interesting. Okay, let's go straight to the point. You want to pay tribute to a coach of the present or the past?
I want to pay tribute to a coach of the past who was extremely formative in my development as an artist and an athlete on tissue. Her name is Veronica Blair. I worked with her for a couple years at the San Francisco Circus Center, and she was my tissue coach primarily and played a huge role in my decision to go to circus school and train full time.
Wow!
So that's how I want to dedicate today to.
How many years did she coach you?
Veronica coached me she coached me for about 2 years, but she has remained a very close mentor of mine. Who I've been able to. I feel very fortunate to stay in touch with her, and she's mentored me up until today. So she's still a big part of my life.
Where did it happen? Did that happen specifically at a circus school? In what city, Andrea?
I was at the Circus Center in San Francisco at the time when we started working together.
Okay, cool. And if, let's say you would need to describe her, what would be the biggest, strongest attribute she brought to you?
That's such a good question. Veronica has given me a lot, but the primary things that come to mind are power on stage, technique.
When you say power, not just presence, you mean actually physical power?
Both.
Okay.
Totally both. Veronica is one of the strongest people I know physically, but she's also got an incredible stage presence and really knows how to own her body and her capabilities and her approach to the stage in a way that has absolutely stuck with me. So.
And do you know if in her past she was also an artist on stage at one point, I'm guessing?
She has performed for many years with a variety of companies. And most recently, she was working for Celebrity Cruises as the artistic coach there for artists going on board. And she also actually performed with Celebrity. So she has a long history of stage work and also coaching.
Wow. And then the last question I would ask you is, let's say somebody would ask you, Andrea, would you suggest me to work with Veronica as a coach? And I'm sure you would say yes. And then that person would say, why? Why do you think I should work with her? What would you answer to that next artist looking for a coach?
So there's a few things that I feel like make Veronica stand out as a coach. One is, so just starting with the physical, she has an emphasis on technique that is huge. I mean, she's the kind of coach who makes you drill and drill and drill and drill things that might seem boring at the time, but ultimately make you look way better on stage. So that's like a no-brainer for me. But beyond that, she actually was the first coach who pushed me to perform as a circus artist. So I've performed a lot in theater and musical theater and in dance. But for a long time, I was actually a rec student on tissue before I even considered going professional. And part of the reason for that is because I didn't even conceive of it as a possibility. It hadn't even occurred to me. I was actually in a rec evening class with Veronica and a few other students in San Francisco at the Circus Center there.
Okay.
And she required that by the end of the session, we put together an act, and it had to meet certain criteria.
Okay.
Put together the act, performed it, and Veronica actually told me she was running the student showcase that spring. And instead of asking me if I wanted to participate, she actually just signed me up and told me I would be doing it. I found that prospect a little bit daunting because I'd never performed a tissue solo before. But that actually was like fundamental in kind of catapulting me onto the path that I have been on ever since. I had a great time, got a lot of great feedback that was super helpful, and realized that I absolutely loved it. So she's big on pushing her students to create. It doesn't really matter what you have in your pocket at the time as far as tricks. Of course, she, is awesome at coaching different tricks, but a huge part of why I like working with her as a coach is that she really holds this mentality that it's never too early to start creating and performing. You don't need, a quintuple star in order to make your first act. You just need to push yourself to get on stage and do it. And that mentality has taken me a long way. So I really appreciate that.
And you know what? Just by listening and watching you as you explain that to us, it's easy to see that she triggers passion. You become passionate when you speak about her.
She is herself an incredible artist. I encourage anyone who's interested to look her up. She's primarily a straps artist, although she's also performs on tissue. And I think one thing that makes her stand out is that I've actually haven't seen her do a lot of the sort of classic straps moves in her acts.
Okay.
And yet for the 5-minute act, you can't stop looking at her. So another thing I like is that she's big on storytelling in her work, infusing a narrative, infusing theatricality in a way that I feel like is not only inspiring, but actually infectious. So I took a lot of that from her, and it really helped me kind of infuse my tissue work with my theater background.
Wow. Andrea Dillon, what a tribute to Veronica Blair, an ex-coach. And I'm hoping that she will get a chance to listen to this, because she has, for sure, has impacted you, not as an athlete, probably as a person, because you became very passionate there for a couple of minutes. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Andrea.
No problem. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this great initiative. I think the last thing I want to say is that Veronica has founded a project called the Uncle Junior Project. Okay. She actually started working on it about 10 years ago, but it's recently been released to the public, and it's a series of documentaries highlighting the stories and careers of Black circus artists. So super timely as far as what's going on in the United States and the awareness that's being built around that. You can see it online at theunclejuniorproject.com, and she's put a lot of work into it. So I encourage anyone who's interested to visit that site and check it out.
Incredible. Thank you for this great tribute, and let's keep in touch.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.